boundaries.
I think we're live right now. Okay.
You're
Okay.
on.
Did that get recorded?
Yeah, rewind.
Maybe.
So
Sorry.
I want to talk to you today about my aunts and uncles. I have 4 uncles and 3 aunts, and I grew up with them. At one point, we all lived on the same street, and in the first house on the east side, my aunt Annie Lee lived in it. It was an old log house, and she lived in that one. And then Marie, my Aunt Marie, lived in the next house. And then we lived in the third house. And then Speedy, Uncle Speedy, lived in the fourth house. And Uncle Nick lived in the fifth house. And Uncle Jim lived in the sixth house.
Strangely, the street was called Reed.
Reed, yes, Reed, the Reed neighborhood. And my Aunt Liz Jane lived in the woods. So she didn't live in town. She lived out in the woods. So Aunt Annie Lee was the youngest, and she was about 8 or 10 years older than me. And I remember her taking care of me at Granny Reed's house, very long time ago. And I also remember she tickled me, and I sort of liked it and sort of didn't like it. It was one of those things, but she seemed to really like it. And so that's where I had the most interaction with her. And then the next aunt was Aunt Marie. That was used to be the house we lived in, and then we built a new house next to it. So then Marie was able to move into that house. That's how we all ended up on the same street. And Aunt Marie was, she was very, well, both Aunt Annie Lee and Aunt Marie and Liz Jane, they were all very, looked very much like Cherokee people. She had black hair and, but Marie was really excited kind of person. She was really friendly, jovial. She was outgoing. I spent a lot of time with her. She had a Fiat, a blue Fiat, and she put her 2 children and me in the Fiat. And we would go places together, and she was always exciting to be with her. And she would live next door, and so I really appreciated her a lot. And um, I learned from her how you can be um, open and excited about life around you. You didn't have to be closed in or shy. You could just and welcome life as it came and be part of it. And so I learned that from her, and that's a big valuable thing for me to have learned that from her. And it was a lot of fun too. So we had a lot of fun together, and then we lived in the next house with and my mother and dad, and then the next house was Speedy, Uncle Speedy. Um, Uncle Speedy had built that house, and it was right next to us. It was maybe 30, 40 feet away. Our back door and their back door were across from each other, and we could go back and forth to see them. And but Uncle Speedy owned the Chrysler Plymouth Dodge dealership in town, and he owned the biggest mechanic uh, shop garage in town. And when I was going to school, when I was walking to school and riding my bicycle from school, I would always go by Uncle Speedy's place and spend time with him and with the mechanics in the back, um, Gene and Hub and Carl and Russell, and it was so I got to know them really well, um, and almost three of them came to my high school graduation because we got to know each other so well, and I learned a lot about the mechanics and stuff. But Uncle Speedy was part of my life because he lived right within 30 feet of our back door, and we grew up there with him and Josephine, and Josephine. It's a funny story about Uncle Speedy. He one afternoon he thought he was at the garage, and he thought that this was the day he was going to die. So he left work and went home and took a shower and shaved and uh, shined his shoes and put his Sunday suit on and his shoes and got his hat, and he lay down on the bed like this and ready to die and waiting to die. And Josephine came in about a couple hours later and walked in there and said, she had little bit of a Petey. She called him Petey instead of Speedy. She called him Petey. Petey, what the hell are you doing on the bed with your shoes on? Get up! So he woke. He opened his eyes. Oh, okay. He got up, and he lived about 40 years after that. It was a false alarm, but it was a funny story. But Speedy was he was a really friendly person too. I mean, if we had a car salesman, you have to be a friendly person. But he was friendly on and off the floor, this car floor, and they always had a lot going on at the garage, and the garage was like a meeting center that all the people and farmers, mostly farmers, would come there for coffee, like mid morning, and uh, I was there a few times when school was out, but they would talk about things and then they would go back to their farms. But the funny part was is that they got up real early in the morning and they went to the farm and they spent an hour or so, and then they went back home and took a nap, and then they went to the garage. And so Speedy kind of helped that happen. He made the area for it and made the coffee, and it was a funny thing. But Speedy was uh, he liked being who he was, and he was a really solid person. And I kind of admired him a little, because the one funniest thing about him is that he drank um, whiskey, and he would go home in mid morning and have a little bit of whiskey, and he'd come back, and then he would go home for late lunch, and he would have another little bit of whiskey, and then mid afternoon he'd go over and have another whiskey, and he maintained a level of like medicine. You might think it. He was always had a little bit of whiskey in him at all times, and so that's what personality he had, the happy personality, personality that could weather difficulties or upsets and carry on, and a very kind of a stable presentation. And of course, I lived very close to him. I saw him every day, every morning, every night. I saw him in the middle of the day, and he was always like that, always. And all the years that I lived with him, I never saw him drunk. he never got drunk. It was amazing kind of thing. That was just the way he was. And then at age late 80s, like 70, 78, uh, almost 80, he had a little heart attack. And the doctor said, "You're going to have to stop drinking." He said, "What?" He said, "Yeah, you have to stop drinking." He said, "Oh, well, okay." So he did. He never had a drink after that. He lived another 4 or 5 years. We went to visit him. You got to meet him, and he was still friendly. He was still steady. He was still, just the only difference was he didn't have any whiskey um, to drink because of the doctor's orders. So it was interesting. I sort of thought to myself, wow, well, he really had it all figured out. And then when the doctor said he had to stop, he said, "Well, okay, I'll stop." So he stopped. It was like, I just still remember that. So it's like, so over there talking to him at his house. Wow, it was amazing. I just really like that, like the fact about. But the thing that um, I really liked about Uncle Speedy is he was really friendly, and I could see all kinds of ways that people liked him, and um, and the things that he would say and do. I studied that, and I felt like that I got a lot from him, from just what I just told you, um, to help guide me um, in my life. And then the next person down was Uncle Nick. He lived in the next house, and Uncle Nick was kind of like being a comedian. He liked to tell stories and tell jokes, and he always got much more animated when he was talking or telling a story or telling a joke. And he loved the punchline, and so I spent some time. He lived with my he lived there next to Speedy, and he had two children, Linda Kay and Terry, and Linda Kay was second. I was the first one born, and then Linda Kay was second, and then little Speedy was third. So I was the oldest. I was like 3 years older, and then um, um, Linda Kay was born. Well, she was born. I think it's about 3 years difference, and then and little Speedy was born 4 years. He was 4 years younger than me. So I had those two people uh, to play with, and Cheryl was the next one. But Nick was he was a wonderful person, and would he was a big machine guy. He operated bulldozers and drag lines and big bucket machines and stuff. And he was known as one of the steadiest uh, people that used those machines. And he was everybody knew that Nick was the best operator in town. So that's funny. But I felt from here I saw that there was a lot of joy in life and a lot of stories and a lot of humor um, in his life. And so I got to know him really well too, because growing up with him. Um, and then the next person was Uncle Speedy, Uncle Speedy, and then Uncle Nick, and then Uncle Jim. So Uncle Jim was in the last house, and Uncle Jim was a demolition expert. Um, he started by blowing out three bricks at the school next to his house. My granny and granddaddy lived what 8,000 feet away from the school. So that's one of the first demolition jobs he ever did was when he was in school. He blew 3 bricks out of the wall of the school. And even when I was going to school, the 3 bricks were still not there. I saw them. I saw them. They were missing. And then he went on to become very good at demolition. So good that he became an international explosive expert. He would be called all over the world to blow up things. And he would go and do it. And he finally got a call by the Navy to come up to Newport Beach, where they had the Navy Yard, and they were building a bigger ship, and they wanted the dock dock hole to be bigger, and they wanted it to be widened, and so they called him in, and he came and looked at it and said, "Oh yeah, I could do that. When do you want it done?" And they said, "Well, whenever you can do it." He said, "Well, I can do it now." And so he went to work. I don't know how many weeks it took him to get ready, but he did. He took him a long time to do it, but he did it. And then he got there the day for the final, push the key. And he looked over there, and they had all these grinding machines and these chipping machines and big. He said, why do you have those things here? They said, well, we want it to be real straight. We're going to grind it off after you finish. He said, well, I'm going to make it straight. And they said, you are? He said, well, yeah, that's what I've been doing. I'm making it so it'll be straight. I mean, you probably won't need those. They said, well, okay. So he blew it up and right down the line where they wanted it, and it was as straight as it could be. And they said, well, yeah, you're right. We won't have to grind it down. But I mean, so he had quite a reputation of that. And he would, and then of course he would be gone from home for months. Like, if he was on a job, he'd be gone a month to 2 months, and then he would come home and he'd be home for a couple of months, and then he'd go off again. I mean, that's the kind of life he had. And he wasn't really, he didn't talk about it much, but we knew what he did, and we knew how famous he was, and so it was interesting for me to grow up with him also. And then of course we would have family meetings, and we would all be together, and it was amazing to be with all those people. And my aunts and uncles, pretty good. So Liz Jane is the last one. I did not live with Liz Jane. Like I said, she lived out in the woods, and she was what you might call an outdoorsman. She liked being out with the trees and lakes and rivers and animals and stuff. But she was Liz Jane was she was I mean, she was pretty cool. I really liked her, and I remember the first time that I was like, who is this person? I was at the back porch where my Granny Reed would churn the butter, and I was standing there, and I was all alone, and I was looking out the porch, and Liz Jane was behind the garage, sitting on a stack of wood, and she was calling a bird. And I stood there holding on to the railing, looking at her. I probably watched her for an hour, and she slowly kept making that bird sound, and the bird kept getting closer and closer till it jumped up on the wood, and then it jumped up on her knee, And then she chirped and chirped at the bird, and the bird went, wow. She put her finger there, and the bird hopped up on her finger. And she said, yes, wow. The bird flew away. I was just thinking about it, and looking back on my life there, who was I? Who was I to stand there for an hour and watch my Aunt Liz Jane call a bird? And I said, I'm like my Aunt Liz Jane. She's very patient. And I'm very patient. I'm like my Aunt Liz Jane. And from then on, we were really close. We were close. We would go fishing together. I got some pictures of Aunt Liz Jane and me holding a string of brim, about 3 feet long, that we had caught, and we would go to rivers and fish and ponds and lakes and stuff. And we had a good time together. And I think I always was her favorite. I think I was always her favorite till she had children. And still I was her favorite, but that way, of all the other kids. And I felt like that from that, I had learned something about myself and something about my Aunt Liz Jane, and something very valuable. And I reflected on it, and I realized that I had a lot of characteristics of my Aunt Liz Jane, and characteristics that I admired, and I still appreciate that to this day.
You had an uncle that was married to one of your aunts named Redbug.
Mhm. Oh my gosh, Redbug. His name was Redbug Batten, Batten, Redbug, but everybody called him Redbug. In North Carolina, chiggers are called redbugs. Chiggers are redbugs. They're bugs that bite into you and make red spots. So he was really a small person, not very tall, and he was married to Marie, and he was a little bit shorter than Marie. Marie was pretty short, like my grandmother Reed, and but he was even shorter. But he was um, he was a long truck driver, long-term truck driver. He drove a long way. And once he drove from Georgia to New York to Chicago to Seattle to San Francisco to LA to Dallas and then back to Georgia without sleeping. Yeah. He took goofballs. And he was sometimes quite goofy. That's why they called them goofballs. They made you a little bit goofy, goofy in the sense of hilarity or things that don't really seem funny. And yeah, he drove the whole around the country without sleeping. But then other times he drove and did sleep. But I told him that if he ever came through San Francisco to call me, and I'd come and see him. And so one night I got this call about 6 o'clock. He said, "Hey, this is Redbug. How you doing?" I'm good. I'm good. Where are you? I said, "Well, look," he said, "I'm down here in Oakland." I said, "Okay, where are you? I'll be there in 10 minutes. Tell me where you are." He said, okay, here's where I am. Okay. So hang up, run, jump in the car, take off. And I get there in 10 minutes and he's not there. And this guy standing on the dock, I said, well, where's Redbug? Where did Redbug go? Where did he go? He said, oh, he just left. Okay. Goofballs. You know? So I didn't get to see him, but I got to see where he was, where he had been. But then he came home, and my daddy bought a big truck for him, and they call it the 10-wheeler. It was a big truck, and so he started working for my daddy in the sand and gravel business, and he would haul sand and gravel to different sites and stuff. So he ended up living next door to us then, and got to see much more of him than usual. One little story about it is that one day he came back from a trip around the country, and somewhere along the line he had bought a Western jacket that was pink, and it was my size, and he bought it for me. So he bought me a Western jacket on his trips, and he brought it and he gave it to me, and I tried it on. It fit really good, and I said, "Wow, this is cool." So I wore that around town a lot, my pink jacket, because my Uncle Redbud gave it to me. He was, and but he's a very positive person, but besides being goofy, he was also very positive. Hardly anything fazed him, even when he wasn't taking goofballs. He was able to respond to something positively. He respond to something energetically. Respond to something that he would say, "Yes, I'll do that. Yeah, I can do that. Yeah, let's go." And I think that's the part that I really found from Redbug. That was the part I thought, wow, that is a good thing. He is happy because that's how he responds to situations. He does not take a negative approach. He does not take a putting off approach. He does not take a standoffish approach. He took a immersionist approach. Jump in and go do it, and so that I would watch him and observe him doing this and thinking, well, that's what Redbug. That's Redbug, boy. That's just the essence of who he is he's ready to go, and ready to jump in and ready to do whatever he can to help. And um, that's one of the reasons I think he did such a good job working for my daddy, because my daddy appreciated that kind of thing too. And so, I mean, that's another thing I learned from Uncle Redbug. It's been it was amazing growing up with all those people and seeing them, except for Jim, every day. But when Jim was home, I saw him every day. But when he was out blowing stuff up, he was gone. But it was I mean, imagine a little boy growing up with that kind of a street. All your aunts and uncles living together, except for Liz Jane, who's living out in the woods. Um, just being there and learning all of that from them, and being able to appreciate it in them, and then kind of let it become a part of me, and then appreciate it in me. It's been a quite a wonderful experience and education or training or whatever you want to call it, shaping and forming me a lot of ways. Being an early young boy and growing up, through high school. So that's my aunts and uncles.
Very great. Thank you, J-Man. I hope you guys aren't hearing my washing machine right now, but it is spinning. So, okay. I wanted to clarify, are all of these aunts and uncles your daddy's siblings?
Yes.
And so then your grandmother Reed was your Cherokee grandmother, full blood Cherokee, and then so all these are your so you're it's interesting to think about the Reeds and the street name Reed being Cherokee land. You know, it's a different, it's a different kind of image.
It wasn't Cherokee land, it was Creek land.
Oh, it's Creek
They
land.
came from the mountains in 1912, down from the way back in the Appalachian Mountains. Annie Lee, my grandmother, and Buffalo Harry Caton, my great uncle, came down with my granddaddy, Moyer Reed, to Candor
Mhm.
in the Tidewater area. That's where the Creek Indians were. But yeah, it wasn't Cherokee land, but they were Cherokee. So
Yeah. Okay.
yeah,
And then, like, I've heard about Cherokee Indian removal, and that there were a lot of Cherokee that went back up in the mountains, and that might have been why your people were also up in the mountains, but also
They
the
were
the
hiding.
creek
they were
of what?
They were hiding.
Hiding, yeah, yeah. And
when
then
we
also, if
we
it's creek
went-
land, the creek people had been removed from that area, or there are also creek people living in your community?
no, there weren't any Creek Indians
Mhm.
left.
Yeah, yeah. So you knew whose land it was, but your people were coming down to like land that had been colonized.
Mhm.
But then Candor, like your family was a big family in Candor, owning the dealership and being the sheriff and having a street named after them. And so it's an interesting,
Yeah.
like if you think about it through Native American history lens, like a return to indigenous land in a way.
Well, we would go back every few years, back up into the mountains.
Mhm.
We had to park our car, and then we had to walk across a bridge. Then we had to walk through the forest, and then we had to cross another bridge, and then we got to where they lived.
Mhm.
That isn't the family you told them about before.
Yeah.
No.
Where you had to cross the log across the water. And you
On
No,
the
that
other
was
side.
another one. That was no. These are real bridges. They're
okay.
4 foot wide bridges you could walk across, or
Mhm.
run a horse across.
That was his
Mhm.
mother's side.
That was his mother's side. Okay.
That's the other
Yeah.
one.
Yeah, our last episode. Um
But Javan did do a high school paper for both English and social science and maybe something else about the
Civics and literature.
about the Creek Indians.
Yeah.
oh neat.
I
Oh.
used to go down. Liz Jane went with me a few times to the Indian Creek mound.
Oh,
The
right.
village used to be, and the mound was still there.
Uh-huh.
And we would go there, and then we'd fish in the big creek.
Yeah.
And
I
then
remember you telling me about camping on that mound.
yeah,
Yeah.
I didn't actually camp on the mound. I camped
No,
beside it.
beside it. Okay.
Yeah. And that's one night we heard a bobcat screaming across the creek.
Mhm.
I was there with Bill at that time. I said, "What is that? Sounds like someone's killing a woman. Oh my God, what do we get? Who is that?" And then it stopped. And we said, "Wow, wonder what it was." But that was where the Indian Mound was, where we heard that bobcat screaming, and we were scared. We were really scared.
Mhm.
Anyway, but
You wrote your paper on.
Hmm.
You wrote your paper on the history and.
oh yeah, when I was a senior, people had to write an essay, and so I wrote it on the Creek Indians and the Indian Mound in our county.
Hmm.
And so the librarian helped me a lot, and the civics teacher and the literature teacher helped me, and I did a joint art research on it, and the librarian helped me write it like you would, and when you write an article at college.
Yeah.
So So she helped me get resources from Raleigh. They have a big, huge archives there.
Hmm.
And I got all this information on this area and the Indians, the Creek tribes there. And I wrote an article about, I wrote this essay, article research. Turned out to be a research paper with footnotes and the whole
Mhm.
thing. So when I got to
Yeah.
college, I mean, like, I already had done research. I'd already written a paper, and it really helped me a lot to
I
have.
bet. Just the skills. Yeah.
Um, I'm sure a lot of other students had done that, but
Hmm.
not the way I'd done it. But anyway, it was really interesting doing that. I wanted to tell you also about my granny. My granny Reed, she would uh, she cooked lunch every day, um, Monday through Friday, and all the children would come for lunch, except Liv Jane. She lived out in the woods. She didn't. I told you that. But so Marie would be there. Annie Lee would come. Uh, when Jill was in town, he would come. And if Nick wasn't, out working in the field, he would come. And Speedy and my daddy. and
And
they
you, and you.
and me. And so I went too. So I not besides living with these people all the time, I had lunch with them every day in my Granny Reed's kitchen.
That's
A
great.
big kitchen, but uh, it was amazing to be in a family gathering every day. I mean,
Mhm.
just imagine what was that like for me to be surrounded with these people at noon for lunch, and just a regular thing, right? And I remember one day I came up. Oh, if my granny when my granny cooked chitlins, I didn't go to lunch. I would go open the door, said, "Sorry, Granny, I'll see you later," and she would laugh. She would just laugh and laugh and laugh.
Maybe they don't know what chitlins
I don't
are.
know what chitlins
Oh
is.
my gosh, you need to know this. Chitlins are the guts
Hmm.
of pigs, and you wash them and you wash them and you wash them and you wash them, and then you cook them, and they smell like poop.
No, thank you. You could tell by the smell when you open the door, huh?
Yeah, open the door. Close it. I'll go and eat at the school today, Granny. And she thought it was really funny. It didn't happen too often around pig killing time. So maybe 3 or 4 times a year. At that time, she would cook them, but everybody else loved them. So everybody made sure they were there that day, except
All
me.
right.
Yeah, and one day I came for lunch and I was a little early and I think Nick was in there, um, and already, and she said, "Oh, kid, I'm so sorry. I don't have anything to eat. I just scrounged everything and got together what I could, and I'm so sorry. I just didn't have much to cook today." And I said, "Oh gosh, okay." And I walked in there and there was a rabbit and there was pork and there was
Chicken?
uh, huh,
Chicken?
no one any chicken. I think it was beef, but mainly pork. Oh, it was venison. That's what it was. It was venison. Yeah, and and then there was vegetables and you know
Pie.
green beans, um, and on and on. And then there was pie. And I was eating and I said, "Granny, I'm just starved. I don't know what to do. Um, the table's full of food." And she started laughing. She thought that was the funniest thing. And I picked up on her, about not having any food. Uh,
Exaggeration. Yeah.
yeah, was really
irony, maybe. I don't know. Yeah.
funny time.
How short was she?
Huh?
You said she was short. How short was she?
She was very short.
Like 5 foot?
Maybe 5'2".
Oh,
Five,
that's just
five.
an inch less than Holly and me.
Oh, yeah.
That's right. Must have been it was your mom's side that had the tall woman.
Yes.
The really
Right.
tall side was your mom's side. Yeah. Yeah. So you got your height from your mama.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, George was 6'4", and Jemima was 6'4". They both were
Mhm.
same height, boy and girl, right? Same height.
Mhm.
Now we're
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah. Unusual. Yeah. So I know I liked how in your story you were noticing how you had qualities of these people that you admired and that you'd chosen to identify with and work with. And then I was thinking about Nick's telling jokes, and I know you like to tell jokes.
yeah.
And I wondered if you remember any of his jokes that yeah, maybe maybe rack your brain if you for another time. But that would be fun to hear some of Nick's jokes that he told.
Oh, it's hard to remember them. That's a long time.
Yeah,
Hey, the
yeah.
one about the drunk and the preacher?
Oh, I think he told me that one. Oh, you're right. Yeah. I do have a joke from Uncle Nick.
All right.
There's um this minister that was had gone home for dinner and had to get back to a meeting at church, and um he was really a little late, and on the way to church he got behind this drunk driver, and he was right on his bumper, and he would weave to the left, and the preacher would try to the minister would try to pass him on the right, and then he'd weave back in front of him, and he'd weave to the right, and he'd try to pass him on the left, and he'd weave back to the left, and finally he thought he had a shot, and he slammed it, and the drunk moved to the right and bumped him, and he went over the edge and turned upside down, and about a couple minutes later he heard this person walking up, and the drunk got down on his knees, and he looked in there and said, "Ah, are you okay in there?" "Yes, the Lord's with me." You know, the way you're driving, you probably should let him get out and go with me,
Because you're going to kill him. Because you're going to kill him.
because you're going to kill him the way you're driving. That's one of Nick's jokes. Yeah,
That's a good one. That's great.
the way you're driving, you're going to kill him.
I like how you kind of saw these positive attributes in your family and took them onto yourself. And I can't really blame my relatives for how I behave sometimes, but I feel like sometimes I could react a little better to things in light of the way your relatives did.
Yeah. Well, I mean, look, Speedy and Redbug, I mean, way totally different people, different ways of life, but they had a similar kind of uh, way to be in the world.
Well, did your grandfather have that? Moyer?
Oh, no.
No.
No, no, no.
He was serious businessman.
He was, yeah, he was serious. He was serious, yeah.
Maybe they got that from their mother then? The
Yeah.
Cherokee humor?
Yeah, I think so.
Hmm.
Yeah.
What were you gonna say, Holly?
I was just gonna say that Justin keeps playing with the ancestry while you're talking and trying to find like streets, and so that's what he's doing over in the corner over here. But
Cool.
what were you gonna ask about Redbug? Was that
Oh,
Raymond?
so yeah, hang on, let me get back to him.
To Marie.
Raymond J. Goodman is what Ancestry pops up with.
Would that be Redbud?
That would be, and it looks,
With Maggie Marie Reed?
Maggie Marie. But his mom was a Batten.
Yeah.
Redbug had two names. He had, sometimes he was called Batten, sometimes he was called Goodman.
Yeah. Okay.
Perfect. And that's Red Bug, B-U-G, right?
B-U-G. Yes. Red bug.
Yeah, Bug, B-U-G.
Okay,
All right. We got it.
They say his
Good.
real name was Raymond.
Raymond.
Oh, I think that's true. I think it was.
Raymond Jackson Goodman,
But his mom was a Batten.
but his mom was a Batten. Yeah.
Well, then he was in our town. He was called by his mother's last name.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Edna Mae Batten was his mom.
Yeah,
Interesting that he kept his mom's name.
Yeah.
Kind of matrilineal sounding.
Maybe because the people in town knew his mother and not his father. So he
Maybe.
was a Batten boy, you know. To
But,
them.
It could be.
no one hardly ever mentioned his last name. Well, in town, no one mentioned other people's last names.
Yeah.
There's only one of each.
But yeah,
Huh.
that's true. He did. His mother was Batten and his father was a Goodman.
Hmm.
And I don't ever remember meeting the Goodman. I think
He passed away in 61.
61. Yeah, yeah.
We still have Anna Lee with us in her 90s.
Yeah, Anna
Oh,
Lee's
wow.
Oh,
90 years old.
Who?
Anna Lee.
Anna
Yeah.
Lee.
See, living. It shows her living.
She was the
Wow.
youngest one. She was like a little, just 8 years older than Jay Van.
Yeah.
She'd be
the one that tickled you?
yeah,
Uh-huh. Yeah.
about 90 or something now, huh?
Not about 90, should be about
She was
90.
born in 1937.
Oh, wow, 37.
Yeah,
Wow.
And did she ever get married?
yeah.
Oh, yeah, twice.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Her first husband died, and then she married a Winfrey.
And then he died.
A Winfrey. Okay.
Oh.
Yep.
Then he died.
That's so neat. You have the genealogy.
It
Thanks.
sure
Yeah.
is. It's great.
I know it's fun to see him like finding the streets and stuff. I keep looking over and then I'm like, I did have to look up what goofballs were.
Oh,
Yeah. Oh, what are they?
Generally referred to depressants like phenobarbital
Mhm.
that were used to treat anxiety or insomnia, also taken often along with bennies for speed. And the combination was often called, the use of amphetamines or bennies was particularly associated with long haul trucking to combat fatigue, to the point where in some areas the stimulants themselves were simply known as truck drivers. Combination of uppers and downers to cycle between alertness and rest was common, and definitely was something the Eagles made a song about, I believe.
I don't recall him taking bennies.
Yeah.
But
Well, I don't know. I just was like, what would be called a goofball in the 50s that was a long haul truck driver? The
Yeah. That's interesting.
phenobarbital.
I like how you look those things up. That's
I do
fun.
too.
Yeah.
Yeah, wow, yeah.
Well,
This
we're
is
right up to
great.
your hour, and I
I
know
remember them though. They were
Weird.
round. They called them goofballs because they were round, like a marble, and a
Mhm.
little bit smaller than a marble.
I hope.
I know there's
Good.
another part which said, in some contexts, a goofball could also refer to a mix of cocaine and heroin.
Whoa.
No, he
But
wasn't.
It's uppers and downers.
But I was like,
Wow.
yeah.
No, he was a truck driver for sure.
Yeah.
Been to Tucson to Tucumcari.
Yeah.
Huh.
I could just hear you singing that song. That's funny.
Yep.
Weed, bikes, and wine.
Yeah.
That's right.
What was it?
Linda
The
Ronstadt.
Eagles? That was Linda
It
Ronstadt.
was, yeah.
Yeah.
Thinking of
Yeah.
life in the fast lane.
Black in the fast
Okay.
lane is what I was thinking you meant. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I was.
Michael Skay was stationed at, was it White Springs? It was a Air Force base.
Yeah.
Oh, White Sands.
Makes
So
sense.
Rory thought that song was Sweet White Sands.
Oh, cute.
She didn't
And
know
wine.
the words
White
were.
Sands wine. Okay.
Yeah.
It's a song about wine, White Sands wine.
White
Yeah.
Sands wine. Yeah, that's
Oh,
like a
nice.
Riesling, something crazy.
Hey, you guys,
Fine.
if you want these videos to put on your ancestry.com stuff, I'm happy to hook you up with that somehow at some point. They're just storing on this computer, and then I'm using the YouTube videos too. So I don't know what they can upload, but let me know. I'm happy
Okay.
to share things. So then, because it's a really neat way to I mean, I think other people related to our families would love these videos. That would be like, it's like so yearned for people to be able to get these stories about their relatives that they miss or never met and never knew, that kind of
How
stuff.
often I talk to people who echo that, oh, I wished I'd asked my grandparents.
Yeah,
didn't
yeah.
want me. In my history class, we saw film about the 20s and the Great Depression. And he asked how many people had been born in the 30s, and there were like 2 people there or 3. And then he said, well, how many of you had parents who told you stories? And there was only like 3 of us who knew stories from our parents. And everybody said, oh, we wish we'd ask. So yeah, there's
Mhm.
things we never asked that we, but
Um,
so
Yeah.
uh-oh, I forgot what I was gonna ask.
I'm sorry.
No, no. It was something about, oh, I would love to get a copy of that picture of you with your aunt and all those fish. That would be fun to upload.
Oh yeah, that would be great
Sure.
to have those on the Substack too. Yeah.
Yeah.
We've got to do the pictures, but they're big box.
The cool thing is though, we're recording this and then we can make things and we can revise things and we can just keep. But
Yep.
so it's an ongoing project with some motivated people in this generation here.
Yeah, thank
Yeah,
you.
that's pretty neat.
that.
Holly's and Justin's kids are motivated, so
Yeah,
yeah,
appreciate it.
it's really neat.
One photo at a time. That's all
That's
you got to
right.
do. One photo at a time.
Yeah.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah. All right, well, I'm going to turn off the recording.